Some will say this bill will end the hemp industry. Let me be clear, the current Wild Wild West situation, selling anything to anyone, is going to end.
Wilton Simpson, the current Agricultural Commissioner, who in the past has taken over $200,000 from Trulieve to his two different PACs. One of the PACs is literally called Friends of Wilton Simpson. He held a press conference and basically said that we have to save the children. They're selling knockoff trademark infringed packaging that looks like Skittles and gummy bears and all these other mainstream candy brands to kids. And that's what these legally compliant hemp businesses are doing. So we have to save the children. Here's the statement he made. Check it out.
Okay, so here is just part of the press conference that Wilton Simpson held back in March of 2023. The context of this press conference is when they were trying to ban hemp products, and they're basically trying to sell to the Florida citizens that it's all about saving the children. The reality is that it's really because the big MSOs, specifically Trulieve, who've donated over $200,000 to Wilton Simpson, don't want anyone else to be able to sell it except for them. So let's start it.
As you can see on the easel next to me, these intoxicating products are being sold across Florida. Each of these images represent product found right here in Florida in our neighborhoods.
Okay, so right off the bat, this statement is extremely misleading. I actually used to work in the hemp industry for 2 years, repping various hemp products, which means that my job was basically to get it into stores and network and sell to all the store owners and managers. Out of the 10,000 hemp businesses in Florida, I've personally been in over 1,000 of them. And when you're a sales rep, you generally pay close attention to all the products that are on those shelves because that's your competition. You want to know how many blatant trademark infringement knockoff packaging, like he's showing here on the easel in the back right, I've ever seen? Take a guess. 1. Okay, now it is true that the black market sells these types of products and often sells them illegally to kids. However, that's what we have the DEA for, and those dealers should be arrested and prosecuted. The scientific studies indicate that you shouldn't use hemp or cannabis products until the age of 25. So I just want to make clear that I'm not advocating to sell to kids. But that isn't what Wilton is trying to sell here. He's trying to penalize federally legal hemp businesses for selling legal hemp products with compliant packaging for doing something that the black market is actually doing. This is flat out deception. I can't tell you how many times I've seen the look on a hemp business owner's face when this type of stuff happens. Their entire financial livelihood is at stake simply because the real reason Wilton put on this press conference was so that the medical cannabis dispensaries could be the only ones that could sell a plant that grows out of the ground. This is textbook crony capitalism that favors the cannabis monopolies. But don't take my word for it. The Ohio Attorney General just filed a lawsuit earlier this year against Trulieve and several other cannabis companies for forming a monopoly. Let's continue.
As a grandfather, these projects being widely available to anyone regardless of age concerns me.
This is also materially misleading. Before July 2023, Florida lacked a statewide age restriction for ingestible hemp products such as gummies, but products intended for inhaling, including hemp vapes and smokable products, were already restricted to purchasers 21 and older. Most smoke shops also voluntarily required customers to be 18 or 21 for all psychoactive products. A gap in the statute does not prove that stores were routinely selling THC gummies to 12-year-olds. I'm not saying that smoke shops never sell to high schoolers. I'm sure it happens here and there, but those smoke shops should be penalized or have their license revoked. But it's not cool to penalize an entire industry for the sins of a few.
This proposed legislation creates much needed common sense guardrails around these products. Florida is not alone, as more and more states are seeing and need to tackle this issue. 21 states have regulated, restricted, or banned Delta-8 THC. I want to be very clear on what this bill does and what it does not do.
Okay, so let's examine the bill itself, particularly the provisions he doesn't mention here.
What it does is it protects our children.
That describes the bill's stated purpose, not its entire effect. The age limit for gummies and child-resistant packaging could also help protect minors, but the original bill was also limited products to approximately 0.5 milligrams of THC per serving and 2 milligrams per package. Those restrictions affected adult consumers and businesses as well as children.
It supports agriculture.
There's no supporting evidence is offered for that claim. The original proposal could have harmed hemp manufacturers, retailers, and potentially growers by removing a major category of legal products from the market. Calling it support for agriculture ignores the part of the agricultural industry that opposed it.
The bill ensures that products made with hemp consumption are held to the same standards as other food products in our state.
This is partly true, but incomplete. The bill classified hemp extract as food and imposed additional manufacturing and packaging requirements. However, hemp extracts were not previously free of standards. Florida already required independent laboratory testing, contaminant testing, certificates of analysis, QR codes, batch numbers, expiration dates, and cannabinoid quantities on the labels themselves.
Some will say this bill will end the hemp industry.
Critics had a legitimate reason to say that. The proposal wouldn't have ended hemp fiber, hemp cultivation, or every CBD product, but its original THC limits and exclusion of synthetically derived cannabinoids could have effectively eliminated most intoxicating hemp products and substantially damaged Florida hemp businesses.
Let me be clear, the current Wild Wild West situation, selling anything to anyone, is going to end.
This is the most clearly inaccurate statement in the speech. Florida businesses could not legally sell anything to anyone. Existing law already regulated THC concentration, laboratory testing, contaminants, labels, and packaging information. Inhalable hemp products were already restricted to customers 21 and older.
We will close the loopholes in state law being exploited to sell euphoric recreational cannabis products without restrictions.
Now, there was a genuine loophole. Florida had no statewide minimum age for ingestible hemp products, but saying these products were sold without restrictions is false. They were already subject to testing, labeling, contaminant, and THC concentration rules, while inhalable products were already restricted to customers 21 and older. The real story is more nuanced than this press conference suggested. Florida had an age limit gap involving ingestible hemp products and packaging that resembled candy, created a legitimate accidental ingestion concern. But Florida's hemp market was not completely unregulated, and no evidence was presented here showing that smoke shops were routinely selling intoxicating gummies to 12-year-olds. The original bill went far beyond filling the age limit gap. It proposed potency limits and cannabinoid restrictions that could have eliminated most of the intoxicating hemp market. Those provisions were ultimately removed before the bill passed. The final law established a minimum age of 21 for ingestible, inhalable hemp extracts, along with stronger food safety, labeling, and child-resistant packaging requirements. That final compromise was regulation, not the near ban promoted in the original proposal. Wilton either doesn't know what he's talking about in this press conference, or he's knowingly deceiving people and has malicious intent, which is grounds for a class action lawsuit by the entire hemp industry. And this press conference was one of the main reasons why I started Ganja Leaks anonymously.
So just so you know, and if Wilton Simpson's watching this right now, you're using the same playbook that they used in the 1930s with the Marijuana Tax Act, which was orchestrated by the lobbyist Harry Anslinger, who had used racism to pass that law because is the same thing basically happened. It was just a different industry. It was the paper industry that didn't want to have to compete against the hemp industry because hemp paper was starting to take off because there was this machine that was invented that was going to be able to extract the crop from the field with way less manual labor, which meant that they were going to be able to get the costs down. So the paper industry flipped out and said, oh, what are we going to do? Well, let's spread all this propaganda. And then another unfortunate thing that happened was a church group funded a movie called Save the Children, which was all about saving the children, to outlaw this miracle-giving plant. And that's exactly what you did in your press conference. Now, I don't know if you actually thought that it was an issue and that all these legally compliant businesses that were getting hemp-derived chain of custody paperwork and COAs were actually, in fact, selling to children with knockoff illegal packaging. If you really believe that, that's an honest mistake, and I can almost forgive you for that. But if you knew that that was bullshit and you maliciously did that anyways and risked the livelihood of all of these businesses, half of them which are owned by Palestinians that immigrated from this country that just want to create a better life for their family, I mean, that's not good, friend. I wouldn't want to be you on Judgment Day, okay? When you stand in front of the pearly gates of either St. Peter if you're Catholic or Jesus if you're Protestant. Like, why did you do this? That is not going to be good for you, my friend. So you really need to repent from that. And I'd like to take this opportunity to formally endorse Matt Taylor, also known as Matt the Welder, who's your opponent in the Florida Ag Commissioner Republican primary. This isn't cool. It's not cool. It's not cool, Wilton. Get your act together. Also, why did you delete the FDACS health complaint website that Nikki Fried had set up, the previous Ag Commissioner set up, so that she can become aware of any cannabis-related health complaints related to Florida, so you can do your job better? Here's a picture of the website that was set up under Nikki Fried. If we use the web archive website time machine to show that it was set up, and here's where that same link goes to now, which was my understanding it was taken down under your administration. That's not good. So I kept posting on Ganja Leaks. I kept exposing the fact with all these lobbying dollars that was spent on Trulieve and how they're basically forming a cannabis monopoly. As a matter of fact, right now the Ohio Attorney General is bringing a case against Trulieve and several other MSOs for doing just that. They don't just file lawsuits like that for no reason, guys. So they deserve their day in court. If it turns out that they're innocent, great, but this is not good for our state. We need to free the plant. Let my people grow, please, Wilton. Let my people grow, please, Kim Rivers. It's very, very, very important. This is not going to be good for either of your legacies.